Mr. Irmantas Pečiūra, the floor is yours.
Good afternoon, dear colleagues. First of all, I want to share my gratitude again for our Chinese friends as well as the organizers of this conference for the opportunity for me to participate in this panel discussion. I think my today's presentation will look to the phenomena of the country's image from quite a different perspective, because I decided to look at it through the lens of the so-called Central Eastern Europe country scientific community. And I think it's quite close for all of us because we are all the members of the academia as well as the think tanks of this region. So first of all, a little bit background about my made analysis, which I made like exceptionally for this event. And when I first saw the name of the topic, like China's image in the Central Eastern European countries, the first thing I want to think about was what is the country image in general. After a little research, I found a definition, and I think it's fit quite well in this today's context. So we can say that country image, it's a complete set of descriptive, inferential, and informational beliefs about the given country. The important word in this definition is beliefs, because we know that in social worlds, beliefs are constructed. So, and when we're constructing something, we have to have actors who have influence for the forming that beliefs, ideas, or imaginations. So, when we're thinking about the China's country image in this region, the second question which I wanted to raise is who is forming that kind of image? So, of course, the politicians is responsible for that, the governmental members as well. The media is very, have a huge influence for the forming the country image. But the most interesting thing for me is what are the researchers or the scientific community part of this construction of the images. And I think that all the scientists, all the researchers have to get into the active ways to construct that national image of China. So the role of the scientific community, I do the premise that researchers should take the active role by the constructing such as countries' images. Now, a little bit about the methodology and kind of limitations of this analysis. So the main idea of my analysis was to look at the major worldwide known scientific database, which is called the Clarivate Analytics Web of Science. And I think that most of people are familiar with that database. And I looked how many publications related to the China's topic I can found in this database. So I looked for every single 16 Central Eastern Europe country. As well, in this research or analysis, I mostly focused on the fields of the social sciences and humanities, ignoring the dimension of the natural sciences, because in this context, One Belt, One Road initiative, I think the social sciences field is the most important. And another thing about the methodology, when I looked for the publications, I splitted my results into the two periods. So the first one, so two periods, 4 years before and 4 years after when China introduced its One Belt and Road strategy. So the first period is from 2009 to 2012, and the second period is afterwards is 2013 to 2016, including years of 2017. But it's not over, so that's why it's in the gap. And I raised in this analysis the 4 hypotheses, and let's see, can we confirm them or not? Okay? So the first hypothesis of this analysis was I wanted to know evenly how many scientific publications related contextually or directly with China can found in that database. So the first hypothesis was that in Central Eastern European countries, a total number of publications related to China as a research object has dramatically or should be dramatically increased after 2012 when China introduced its One Belt, One Road strategy. So it's like a logical one. Here is the results of all the 16 Central Eastern European countries. The first axis is showing the total numbers of the publications, and it's split to the time periods. So it's a dark blue. It's a period of the period of 2009-2012, and the bright blue and the gray ones are representing the period of a period after China's introduced its One Belt, One Road strategy. So I think that we can confirm the first hypothesis that the number of total publications published after the initiative was introduced has increased dramatically. There is the absolute sizes or numbers. So the first country is Poland, which had the most publication. The second is the Czech Republic, Romania, Hungary, Slovakia, and so on. And in those pies graphs afterwards, you can see like relative sizes, and we see that, for example, the Poland is in all their ever published scientific publications, the 80% of them was published in the period after China introduced. And the average, you can see it here in the middle, the average is about 64%. So we see that the number of total publications really increased dramatically after introduction of the China strategy. The second hypothesis was made about, I was curious, what about the thematical baskets? In what topics the Central Eastern Europeans are writing about the China? So the second hypothesis is called like that. In Central Eastern Europe countries, the economical narrative overshadows other important topics like politics, cultures, and others regarding China. And let's look at the results in every single country. You can see in numbers the economical narrative is dominating. We have quite a lot of publications based on the politics in Czech Republic, in Poland, in Slovakia and Hungary, but overall we see that economical narrative is one of the foundation about what the Central Eastern European scientists are talking about. The third hypothesis was based on the question, do the China is the object of the researchers' analysis? Do they analyze China in the Central Eastern European context or not? Or China is like object of the analysis in the more global scale. So the hypothesis is called like that. In the Central Eastern European countries, researchers are concentrating to China outside Central and Eastern region problematic. And here we can see the relative sizes of the publications, and we see that we can exclude, I think, the Macedonia and Montenegro results, which is in the top 3, because these countries have a very, very not a large number of the publications. So the qualitative results, we can say the Czech Republic, it's over than 60% is related to China in the regional context, as well as about the 50% is related with the Romania. And the other countries is less than a 50%, and my home country, lovely Lithuania, is just about 30% of the published scientific results related to Lithuania and China in the regional context. Everything else published is more global context and topics. And the fourth, the last hypothesis was based on the question, do the researchers in the Central and Eastern Europe region collaborate together when they are preparing the scientific results? So the fourth hypothesis, that collaboration between Central and Eastern Europe countries' researchers regarding China is low. And I think we can approve it. Here you can see the graph. And the floor with a little bit red or orange, which means the intense cooperation. But keep in mind that we're just talking about the 1 to 10 publications. It's not the 100, it's not the 1,000. So the major collaborations seems to be within at some country groups or like the alliance-centric. So we can say that like a Slovakia and Slovenia, Croatia and Slovakia, Hungary and Czech Republic, and something like that. So we have a few centric states, and other states are more the followers. And on this side, you can see the last countries like Bosnia, Albania, Montenegro, Macedonia, as well as the Baltic states and Bulgaria. It's some kind of the outside of the cooperation angle. And the fourth and the second graph which represents the collaborations, I wanted to see do the Central Eastern European countries researchers collaborating, how they are collaborating in the different regional contexts. So we see that Central Eastern European region researchers collaborating evenly more with the other European countries than collaborating inside. As well, they collaborating more to the countries like United States, like Latin America countries, as well as with different Asian countries, more than they are collaborating each other in this regional framework. Okay, and let's move to the conclusions and some maybe recommendations. So first of all, we can say one positive thing, that a growing research output generating in the Central Eastern European countries, showing that this region somehow increasingly getting involved into the wider discourse of the China's One Belt, One Road strategy and China as a research object in general. However, analysis of this second period of publications showed that amount of publications directly related to China and to 16+1 platform problematic is extremely low at the moment. It's increasing, but now it's still very low. The second, we have to mention that despite the fact that economical dimension in this cooperation is very important in the CAA region and China's relations. However, when the research is concentrating only on the topic like the economics, maybe it's possibly overshadows an opportunity to find a shared values about what we talked a lot yesterday. And those shared values and more concentrating to the different topics like a culture, more to the political frameworks, maybe it can become like a pillar of building a trust and like foster a deeper cooperation as well. The fourth conclusion is because a major part of a publication analyzing China outside the regional framework, outside the CAA country is problematic, it is very hard to establish a positive image of China in the region. And maybe one of the ideas is that at the global level, most publication puts China as a research object into the context which is related more to the competition and conflicts, because the global topics such as relations between superpowers, changing world order, economical competition, some regional conflicts puts China more to the negative side of the people's imaginations. And the fifth and last conclusion is that it is very hard really to talk about such a thing which is mentioned as Central Eastern European countries scientific community, because the collaboration level between CAA countries researchers is very low. It's mostly focused on the bilateral relations, and as well it's concentrated more around the few leading countries. So I think one of the missions right here is to establish that, which have to be called the scientific community of our region. Thank you.